Right, so patching this pebbledash here. Used to be a window there, as you can see, but I have my rule on. I'll use that up close, just show you everything I have to do here before I actually start the pebbledashing and stuff. And once I start that, I'll probably not be able to talk to the camera directly, and I'll have to maybe do a voice of it. Basically, I have my rule on plumb level to the door and to the existing reveal. So I need to get this reveal on very, very quickly. Let that set. Then I'm going to need to take this off and gently coat the face and pebbledash this. Usually you would do all the reveals the day before, a couple of days before, so that they're solid and you can flip them off and you can work off that, but as this is just a patch, I'll have to do it a wee bit quicker, so I'll probably get that on, give everything a wee splash, get that on and get my tea while that's getting hopefully nice and firm, and then I'll dash the face and clean up, and that'll be that. The mix I'm using here, guys, is 4:1. It's 4 silver sand to 1 white Portland cement, and there's no mortar mix used in this. Again, for patching, sometimes you could just use a wee bit of mortar mix, but you're better with something like a waterproofer, or again, how we splash with SPRN, and maybe even a tiny pinch of furry liquid just to give you a bit more flow. And there is other things that you can use, but most mortar mixes can stain the white mortar, so you'll try and wanna make sure you do your research before you use certain chemicals with a colour coat of cement, because it can change the colours. Again, 4:1. Scratch coat was done for me, so it was 3:1. Not the way I would scratch it, but it's good enough. And trying to get this on as neat as possible, so that it's easily finished. And most times I do just try to trowel these up, but I'll show you here further down the video that how it actually goes is the way it's finished. Looking around the rest of the house of how they're finished, because I'm patching in, so I'm trying to match the existing, guys. That's the most important thing when you're patching, trying to flush in and get the existing render, pebbledash, wet dash, whatever it might be on the outside. You'll want to match it and try and make it as visible as possible. I used the cordless mixing driller, as it was handy as nobody's about, so I didn't need any leads or power. I could just start mixing away, and better than mix it by hand, and just using the refiner trowel and the pointsman hawk again. So I'll probably give this one more quick trowel up, get it a wee bit flatter. Bottom's quite neat, so gotta follow all that. And then I'll still let it firm up before I cut this off and flip it off. Get that side done. You can see I have to do this in 2 quick coats. I'll give it all wet up, it's drying in pretty well, so I'll probably not wet it again. I'll probably just give it a double coat and dash it, as if I wet it too much the thickness might start sagging on me. I don't want that. Hasn't actually been that much longer, but just sort of look at all the reveals around the house just to sort of match them in as best. And most times I just trowel up silica sand, as sometimes when you float it, sponge it too much, it starts sort of tearing and ripping on you. But the rest all sort of look slightly sponged, so I'm going to give this a wee quick light sponge here. As you can see, done the bottom part there, so just the top of the head, and I'll just lightly sponge it up and down using this timber as my guide. So if it needs to be trowel up later for a polish, that's what I'll do. Bit awkward doing this here with one hand, so I'll come back and choose it all tidied up, and then I'll get this coated and dashed on after I get a bit of tea in me. Give it time to actually pull in. Timing's key with this kind of stuff, guys. Too early, too late, no good. So pretty happy with that sponged in. Very similar to the bottom. And next is flat. Again guys, I didn't scratch this. It's not done for me, built and scratched for me. Otherwise I'd have had to comb through it. But still plenty of grip on it. Again, the stuff's nice and sticky. And have waterproofer. What else do I have on it? Made a wee splash of ASBR and a wee splash of waterproofer in this, the white satin cement. So, just ready to cut away here. Like I said, had all my stuff mixed. Again, if you're doing a patch, you kind of want to mix maybe 5%, maybe 15% more than what you think you're going to need. And the reason for that is you don't want to run out halfway on a patch or halfway on a wall, as what will happen then is you'll get a joint. Your stones, you'll find it's hard to coat up the stones that you've already put on if you put the stones down too low. And even if you don't put them too low and you leave yourself a nice wee band of render that to match in with your fresh render, you'll find that it might start drying, and then what will happen is the stones will bounce off. I showed some common mistakes, and I also showed ways to fix them, and most importantly how to prevent them in a previous pebbledash patching video. Do have a good couple, but I think that one was the one just before this, so the dates shouldn't be too far away from each other. I will also try and stick that in the description guys, so that you can sort of follow what I'm saying here even more closely. Again, every job's different, and this does go to show it, because you're going to come against different things. You'll notice even this weather here is good weather, so I'm not worried about any real rain or anything. It's still cold, so I know there's a bit of sun on me, but you can see I'm still wearing my hoodie, so it's still a bit cold. Had to actually move my van there. Not ideal when you start coating, because once you start you don't want to stop. Like I said earlier, you want to get it all on and hit the stones in when it's fresh. Again, my mix here 4:1. The undercoat should be 3:1, and you can undercoat just normal satin cement. It doesn't have to be the white satin cement. When coating this, obviously I wasn't too bad because I've got a bit of depth to play with, which is pretty good. Again, my stones here are bigger than the normal dashing stones, well, the most usual dashing stones, and I'll be honest, the ones I prefer. The smaller the stone, the easier they are to work with guys, because one, you don't need as thick as coat, and two, they're lighter on the hook or lighter on the arm, and they stick much better. And again, that's down to not needing as much as a big coat either. But basically, say your stones are ½ inch thick, just for talk's sake, you'll need at least half of that coated so that they can embed in 50%. I hear a lot of guys talk about pressing them in with a float and pressing them in with a hawk and that. Yeah, that might work well and good, but I personally don't like that method, as you'll find if your render is drying in behind, you then compress them stones in. What happens is you're actually causing small little cracks around the stones, because the render's cracking. You're pushing in, it's starting to move and it's starting to crack. I have actually seen it on a few buildings. I've looked up closely and you can see all the cracks coming out of the stones. And what that's going to cause down the line is some damp penetration and then post render. So I personally would never do that. Pebbledash is Pebbledash. It's not an exposed stone. If you want an exposed stone, we can do that. That's a different method. That's a different thing altogether. I have got one video where I exposed stone on concrete step, where I did some big effect render around the step too. Looked pretty good. Looked better in person than it did on camera. A lot of things actually do. Some things do look better on the camera than what they do in person as well. Must say that. And I must say, when you are coating this, obviously the less lines you leave, the easier the background is going to look on the eye, because you won't see any waves or bumps, and you won't see any lines. Most times some lines are okay, as the stones will batter them back in, and they'll when you hit on nice even flick of stones, it should go on nice and even, and it should also help even out the background slightly. Again, this is all good just talking about it. It's a lot harder to do, and patch and pebbledash is one of the hardest things to patch, if not the hardest things. Most renders in general is hard to patch. I find wet dash probably the easiest to match and patch, but that's just the nature of the mix really. And secondly, pebble dash, it's a dry dash. Roughcast is, it's a wet mix, so two different things. But again, patch and render, it's sometimes you have to call it what it is. A patch is a patch, but again, as plasters and renders or anybody learning, the whole idea is to try to be as good as you can be the best plaster you can be, and try to make all the joints invisible, better on the eye. Again, just a wee quick one here. Had it in the van. I'm actually using a wee flexible pull trowel, and very good for render if you want to take out some lines as well. Worked a treat for this. I just give it a bit of a clean, guys, before I use it. Didn't want to drag any dirt or any old sand or cement that was maybe on it onto the nice white background. Again, you can dirty down your sand and cement if it's an older building. You can sort of dull it down a slight bit. I was talking to a subscriber about this a few weeks ago, but funny enough, the back of this house is very fresh looking for being 20 years old. It's very fresh looking, so I had no real concerns of trying to sort of help match colours because it was pretty white. Again, starting at the stones at the top, I'm working my way down the bottom, hitting the joint in. And I will later on, I'm not sure I catch any footage of it, but I'll just go around the edges and just check with a wee tossing brush. And especially that bottom, it's a wee tiny bit bulgy, so I'll just try to use the brush to help manipulate that in. Again, if this was any heavier, or if I had to wet the background anymore, the bottom could all drop off, guys. I've seen it happen before. It's not an easy fix. It's basically a start again job, or you might have to scratch it and come back another day, so it's not as heavy as a coat. But again, like I said, I needed a bit of depth for these stones. They're a wee bit bigger than the usual sort of chippings I would use. Again, matched in very well with the house, you can't complain there. My big concern here is, because I'm on my own, I have nobody to hold a rule, and I didn't want to try and wedge a rule up my reveal. My concern is I'll knock my reveal off, and possibly you could use the bead, but then again, that wouldn't match the rest of the house. It would look a wee bit ridiculous in my opinion. But so my idea is here, I'm just flicking nice and gentle as I can along the edge. A wee tiny bit at the top just sort of chipped on me, so I do repair that later on in the video, and all I had to do is knock a wee bit more stuff in, because it was very little damage. Maybe hit them stones on that area just that wee bit too hard. And like I say, if I press these stones in at this stage, it won't look like anything else on the house. So right now the left side joint is pretty good, so don't need any more messing about. And my thing is, I need to tidy up along the reveal. There's a wee bit of sort of overspill of the render around the corner, more so after I hit the stones on. Just needs tidied up. Again, I'll just cut it all off nice and gentle and take off any excess that's coming over the edge, and then re-sponge that so it's coming in nice and flush again. And in my opinion, for a patch, it comes up very well. Again, very hard to do these things in one day. If you are sort of maybe doing this and you're very new to plastering and rendering, it might be better just let your reveal go for a day if you can afford to be able to come back. Again, time is money and money's money, and sometimes if a job needs done, it needs to get done that day. There is ways to do it, and again, sometimes when you rush job, it's not going to be good, but hopefully if you're watching these and you ever did need, it gives you a couple of wee heads ups, a couple of wee tricks, a couple of wee methods that you can use. Again, if I had a guy with me helping, he could have held the rule up as I threw the stones on. It would have protected this corner more and made it that bit easier to finish, but still got there in the end. I'll show you it all here now, and that's it all patched in. And the black down the corner of the rail, that's the damp proof membrane that needs cut off in silicone later on. And as far as patches go, this one's pretty good. And don't forget to clean up, guys, after this. Still a couple of wee white stones to brush away, but no cement left on the floor, as that would be very dirty. So make sure and clean up after yourselves, and let me know all your thoughts in the comments, guys.